Everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do. Just the competitor that I am. I'm fierce. I'm sassy. I stick up for my teammates, stick up for myself. And so sometimes I think that's okay to be feisty and to be yourself.
For months, fans of Caitlin Clark watched in disbelief as she took hit after hit with almost no protection from the league. The referees swallowed their whistles. Opponents got bolder. Even teammates seemed hesitant to speak up. The silence was deafening until Sophie Cunningham arrived. From the moment she joined the Indiana Fever, Sophie made one thing clear. She wasn't here to play politics. She wasn't here to kiss up to the media or the league. She was here to ride for her teammates. And when she saw the abuse Caitlin was taking night after night, Sophie didn't hesitate. She stepped in, spoke out, and went to war. First on the court, then online, and finally through a mic of her own. What started as a few fiery plays quickly spiraled into something the league never saw coming. Sophie became the voice of the fans, the protector of the game's biggest star, and the league's biggest problem. Every time the WNBA tried to silence her, she got louder. Every time they fined her, she doubled down. And now, the question isn't whether Sophie crossed the line, it's whether there's anything the league can do to stop her. This is the story of how one player went from role player to rebel, how she turned into the face of a movement, the nightmare of the WNBA, and the unapologetic enforcer Caitlin Clark didn't just need, she deserved. And trust me, what happened next? You're not ready. When Sophie Cunningham joined the Indiana Fever, fans didn't expect her to be the team's leading scorer or a media darling. What they hoped for was toughness, someone who wouldn't back down when things got physical. What they got was something far more powerful. Sophie didn't just bring grit, she brought loyalty, and from day one she made it crystal clear that she had Caitlin Clark's back. While most of the league gave generic answers about Caitlin's impact, Sophie spoke with raw honesty. She called Clark a game changer, the face of the league, and said what other players tiptoed around. That kind of authenticity stood out. In a season where the media seemed to downplay Caitlin's rise, where referees ignored blatant fouls, and where even big brands like Nike dragged their feet, Sophie's voice cut through the noise. It wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't political, it was real. And that's exactly why it made people uncomfortable, because in the WNBA, playing tough is fine, but calling out the league? That's crossing a line. Sophie didn't just cross it, she stomped on it. From that moment forward, she wasn't just a role player anymore. She was the one player who refused to play the league's game, and the pushback was coming. But before that storm hit, Sophie gave fans a glimpse of what she was really capable of, a moment that would foreshadow the chaos to come. After the chaos of the Commissioner's Cup, when Caitlin Clark was swiped, shoved, and dropped with no protection, the league finally responded, but not to the officiating, not to the reckless hits. They fined Sophie Cunningham $400 for daring to stand up and say, enough. To most players, that fine might have been a warning. To Sophie, it was a green light, and for fans, it was validation. Someone was finally pushing back. Overnight, Sophie's jersey became one of the hottest in the league. Her social media exploded with support, and when she posted a TikTok with a playful Selena Gomez track throwing subtle shade at JC Sheldon, it went viral almost instantly. The message was clear. Sophie wasn't here to play nice, she was here to protect Caitlin Clark. But that viral moment came with a cost. Mainstream outlets blasted her. Commentators labeled her immature. A Change.org petition called for her suspension. And all the while, the league said nothing about the fouls that caused it. The silence around Caitlin's treatment was deafening. But the outrage towards Sophie? Immediate. Still, she didn't flinch. No apology. No backpedaling. No scripted press conference. She stood on everything she said and did. And that's what made her different. This wasn't just about one moment anymore. It was about a player who refused to follow the league's unspoken rules. A player who wouldn't sit quietly while the face of the league got tossed around with no accountability. What the WNBA failed to realize was that Sophie didn't just create a moment, she created momentum. One fine turned into jersey sellouts, viral clips, and a fan movement that only grew louder every day. The league wanted her quiet. Instead, they gave her a platform. And Sophie, she knew exactly how to use it. If the WNBA thought a $400 fine would silence Sophie Cunningham, they were dead wrong. Days after the incident, she walked into a pre-game shoot-around wearing a bold Tres Leches Barstool Sports t-shirt featuring herself, Caitlin Clark, and Lexi Hall. To casual fans, it might have looked playful, but to those paying attention, it was a direct response to the storm around her, and it was loud. The shirt instantly sparked controversy. Critics claimed Tres Leches, meaning 3 milks, was a nod to the Fever's 3 white starters. Sophie didn't explain or defend it. She didn't need to. She wore it knowing exactly how it would be received. It was unapologetic, and it sent a message. I'm not here to tiptoe around your discomfort. Just when the backlash started to cool off, Sophie turned up the heat again. On July 1st, she appeared on a podcast and casually trashed the league's expansion plans. She called out cities like Detroit and Cleveland, questioning why the WNBA would want to grow in places that don't excite players or fans. The media pounced, social media lit up, and yet again, instead of walking it back, Sophie doubled down. She claimed everyone in the league felt the same way. They were just too afraid to say it out loud. Don't tell me Detroit is more fun than Nashville, she snapped. The line went viral. It wasn't just what she said, it was the fact that she said it without hesitation. Sophie was done with diplomacy. And when things finally started to quiet down, she stirred it all up again. On July 18th, she posted a TikTok lip-syncing to a Sabrina Carpenter song, mocking the refs. Over 1 million views later, she was hit with another fine, this time $500. But to Sophie, it wasn't a punishment, it was confirmation. The league was watching, and they were rattled. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain, she just kept going. The more they fined her, the more fearless she got, and the league was only making her louder. By late July, it was clear that Sophie Cunningham wasn't going to play by the WNBA's rules. So she did something no one saw coming. She launched her own podcast, the name Show Me Something, but this wasn't just another athlete trying to build a brand. From the very first episode, it was clear. This was war. Sophie used the mic the way she used the court, with no filter and no fear. And right out of the gate, she started naming names. She called out her old team, the Phoenix Mercury, and exposed locker room conversations where players admitted they were targeting Caitlin Clark from day one. They wanted to show her what the W is really like, Sophie said, but it was too much. And if I'm saying it's too much, then it's definitely too much. She didn't stop there. She blamed the referees for completely losing control during the Fever versus Sun game. She said Marina Mabrey should have been ejected, and that the hits on Caitlin weren't normal rookie treatment. They were personal, and when she talked about the refs, she didn't hold back. I don't even have a leash, she joked. Just a collar and a hand on it. The league listened, and they hit her again, this time with a $1,500 fine, not for anything she did on the court, just for speaking on her own podcast. The same episode where she openly criticized how the league had handled Caitlin's treatment and questioned why so many insiders were trying to downplay her impact. But instead of backing off, Sophie pushed further. She called out WNBA legend DeWanna Bonner, her former teammate, for the way she left Indiana. Sophie claimed there was no explanation, no heads up, and no accountability, just silence. And right before they faced off on the court, Sophie made it clear Phoenix was in the past. "AZ was good to me," she said, "but I'm way happier where I'm at now." The message was subtle but sharp. "You're dead to me." Then came the final blow. On her August 13th episode, Sophie did the unthinkable. She went after the league's future Golden Girl, Paige Buchers. During a Team USA exhibition game, Sophie called out the refs for giving Paige superstar treatment while Caitlin Clark was still getting hacked with no calls deep into her second season. "You literally couldn't touch her," Sophie said, "and that shitty is so annoying." Once again, the league responded the only way it knew how. Another fine. 3 podcast episodes, 3 fines. Sophie joked about it, saying she was 3 for 3, but behind the sarcasm was a message. The league wasn't ready for someone like her, someone who didn't care about image, someone who didn't flinch under pressure, someone who had nothing to lose. At this point, it was bigger than basketball. Sophie wasn't just defending Caitlin anymore. She was holding a mirror up to the league, and they clearly didn't like what they saw. By now, Sophie Cunningham had become more than just a player. She was a lightning rod, a voice that refused to quiet down no matter how many fines the league threw at her. And the most dangerous part, it wasn't just what she was saying, it was that fans were listening, loudly. The WNBA tried everything it could to control the narrative. They hit her with fines. They let media outlets twist her words. They tried to paint her as reckless, divisive, and problematic. But none of it worked, because while the league scrambled behind the scenes, Sophie was winning over the one group they couldn't afford to lose, the fans. People weren't just following her, they were rallying behind her. Every time she spoke out, her clips went viral. Every time she got fined, her followers doubled down in support. She wasn't just speaking for Caitlin Clark anymore. She was voicing what so many casual fans, players, and even insiders were afraid to say out loud. The league was failing its biggest star and punishing the one teammate who had the guts to speak up. Then came the news no one wanted to hear. Sophie was out for the season with an MCL injury. Just like that, the league was off the hook, from the on-court chaos at least. But if they thought that meant things would finally go quiet, they miscalculated again, because Sophie's voice wasn't tied to her minutes. It was tied to her platform, and now that she had one, she was going to use it. What she saw, what she experienced, and what she endured during those months gave her credibility that no PR campaign could compete with. She lived it, she stood in it, and now she was calling it out. Sophie's podcast wasn't about boosting the league's image. It was challenging it. She wasn't asking for change behind closed doors. She was dragging the issues out into the light. From favoritism to foul calls, locker room hypocrisy to silent leadership, she exposed it all. And with every new episode, every quote, and every viral moment, the WNBA's nightmare got worse. Because Sophie wasn't just criticizing the system, she was proving she didn't need the league's approval to be heard. Now sidelined with an MCL injury, Sophie Cunningham won't be making headlines from the court anytime soon. But let's be honest, her real impact was never just about the game. It was about what she exposed while playing it. And now, with a mic in her hand and nothing left to lose, she's become something the WNBA never expected and still doesn't know how to handle. She's not anti-league, she's anti-lies, anti-hypocrisy, anti-silence. Where others played safe, Sophie got loud. Where most players toe the line, she erased it. She defended Caitlin Clark when no one else would, called out the double standards the league refused to address, and dared to say what everyone else whispered behind closed doors. And the irony? She did everything the WNBA should have done from day one. Because if the league had treated Caitlin like the star she is, had protected its biggest draw, had allowed its players to be raw, real, and unfiltered, Sophie Cunningham wouldn't have needed to say a word, but they didn't, so she did. Whether you see her as a problem child or the league's last hope depends on how you feel about honesty, about loyalty, about someone finally speaking up when it matters most. Either way, one thing is clear, Sophie isn't going away, and the louder she gets, the more people listen. If you made it this far, drop a fire in the comments, because that's what Sophie brought to the league. And if you want to see more stories the league doesn't want you to hear, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this was just the beginning.